After I had done those videos yesterday, United Nations in Geneva, yes, they torture me again with a movie they produced, and they send that movie in the daytime in my viewing cells, in my seeing cells. They torture like that, the German Nazis, the blind shit Nazis, torturing with images and with videos inside the seeing cells. It's not blind person, but they use their technology and they torture inside the seeing cells, inside the visible cells, and that's not crime, because no one is investigating against that military Nazi rights of Boris Pistorius. And they reached the seeing cells long time ago, like 1993, when I was visiting Turkey, and that American soldier spoke inside my head, and he say, close the door. That was in 1993, that's very important, because they torture inside my dreaming cells since 87. And in 88, they organized a second pipe, which they placed inside my head during an operation on my left ear. So I got two minds inside my body, which the government of Germany placed, and two computer Nazi crews who have access to the body, and that American soldier, he talks crystal clear. That was the first time a man, but that was an American soldier who speak inside my brain cells, that I can hear crystal clear his words. And in that room I was at that time when that happened, when he said, close the door. In that room was a door, and that door was open. So that time he see already through my eyes, or use any kind of satellite technology, and see that I was living in a room that had a door which were open. And I didn't want to close that door because it was so hot. And the family who invited me to stay at their place, they don't worry, and they let the doors open. So why should I worry? Because of the soldier? You wanna fuck, you wanna rape, you wanna destroy my way of living? He wanna scare me that anything at that place where I'm sleeping can happen? That's not up to him. But anyhow, because of the things which were ongoing since 1987, torture inside the dreaming cells, or stimulate me into deep sleep, things like that. Yes, and then that fucking movie where they calculate both ears and find out what kind of frequency they can use to have access, managed access, that they can talk inside the head. They organized it before I went to Adana. And that was a fucking train where I found myself when the movie Inside My Dreaming Cells started. I was sitting on a railway bridge, and then the train were coming, and the volume of the train, the sound of the train, getting louder and louder and louder and louder and louder, still start getting painfully. And then the movie was finished. I didn't know that time what for they did that. And that was my reaction in Adana, in that flat, in that house where I was living at that time. You know, my reaction when he said, close the door, I react immediately, spontan. I say, sorry, I don't take any kind of military order. And 2 days later, at the same place, they torture me with that movie, Inside the Dreaming Cells, where I was living or sitting on the ground in a poor room, in a dirty room. And when I saw that gun in front of me, that revolver, I took that revolver and commit suicide. I shot twice in my chest. You know, this is the way the fucking German Nazis and the NATO torture inside the body, inside the head. And they attempt to go on doing things like that. And yesterday, after I made that first movie to Geneva, I also published that on Facebook. And I also sent it to a lawyer. And it's precisely the ongoing, they create in 1993, things like that, have access to the hearing sets, the listening sets. And in 1993, they start to keep me awake. In 1991, they stimulate me into deep sleep and torture again. You remember that movie, where the baby was sticked in the with a pillow inside the bed? Yes. And that movie yesterday, that was a monkey who climbed up the house, climbed through the roof, and went inside my flat and grabbed my wallet. They're doing things like that. Since 1993, they organized that his tortured slaves, always go to live in starvation condition by those military, jealous, wicked, coward Nazi crew. Always. You know? And in 1996, like I told you already in the movie, they torture into coma. They kept me awake. A fucking time. 1993 they started. Always 3 days and 3 nights, 4 days and 4 nights. And 1996 to coma. And they didn't stop. They were ongoing after the coma. Yes? Until 2005. Again they kept me awake. for 5 days and 5 nights. That time I was living in Holstendorf, close to Eutin. And that time I had a woman lawyer called Miss Collar, Beate Collar. And that heart attack, I couldn't do anything. I was destroyed for 6 months. And after 6 months, I was able to go shopping by myself again, which was impossible under that 6 months, you know. And yesterday, they know precisely what kind of income I have. And when you live on Social Security as a retired person, that's precisely, they laugh, they enjoy that starvation condition which they self-programmed. Yes? They torture you, that you have to live under such conditions since 1993. You know, and that monkey, which they yesterday, it was a monkey, like a apes, yes, very quick, reach a building, climb up to the top, and went through an open window inside the room. Very fast. That wicked coward Nazis, they're doing things like that. And in the morning, that morning, I was sleeping, I open my eyes, I wake up, and that Nazi rats continuously talking inside the listening cells. They don't stop, because when you think of all the crimes they commit, what is it? When a computer Nazi rat stimulates you as human being into deep sleep within 10, 15 minutes? Tell me, what is it? Or use the opposite, keeping you awake till you're in coma, keeping you awake till you got a heart attack. Is that the bioweapon? Yes, it is. No, for sure. But when they create herpes on the lips, yes, what is that? From their computer? Or when they hit my left eye, shooting on my left pupil, or change the genetic structure of my iris inside my left, which I discovered in 1991 in front of a mirror. You know? Is that? Or when they're doing things like that, which happened under the time of Boris Pistorius, changing the genetic structure on my tongue. And that was after the computer Nazis asked me to go in Ukraine. You know? What for? He wanted, that fucking Nazi, he wanted to get rid of me. In the meantime, get crap images out of the visible cells, which he can send to people he wants, broadcast, changing genetic structure like that on my tongue. You know? What is that? We're talking about genetic weapon in the hand of military Nazis who enjoying doing things like that and torturing day and night. And in the morning, again, they have access to my hearing cells, to my listening cells, and like nothing happened. Huh? Nothing happened. Yes, nothing happened before. That continues to torture like that. That's why I say, Mr. Pistorius, you are a dirty, rotten Nazi. Yes, it is a reality. It's not a fiction. Huh? Yes. And that Nazi were doing things like that, torture into coma, torture into heart attack, also change the genetic structure. That dirty Nazi, he destroyed my right eye, that one. I don't see anything on my right, only light and dark. But no clear, I can't read anything, yes? And it's kind of blinding when I see the sun on my right pupil. The sun, the square meter of the sun is double as on the left side. So they also have the focus. Yes, they know precisely that gain weapon Nazi, the focus. They can zoom. And this is what they're doing, that dirty Nazi who works for Boris Pistorius. The zoom, you know. They make it that the sun getting closer. They zoom the sun, and then they paralyze the muscles inside the pupil, or inside the seeing cells. Yes, the blind ship Nazis from Germany. It's not a medical, huh? But it's a medical technology that the fucking government is using to terrorize and torture human beings. You know? And you don't have any kind of chance to get rid of those Nazis unless you have people who understand, yes, how they torture like Guantanamo or Abu Ghraib, yes. And when they start terror in February 1996, when they start terrorizing day and night, after the second day, I smashed my head on a wall to get rid of those Nazis. But, you know, human beings does not get the right to develop their own consciousness. It must be ruled by Nazis and precisely chirurgic instruments. Huh? So what you're doing, you as United Nations, huh? You not even reach the victims. That's a shame. And the same, when you wrote things like that, Amnesty International, they receive things like that, where tortured victims complain about the treatment of the government. But they never reach the victims. They don't take contact. The same with the United Nations. They receive They can read, but they don't answer. How can the United Nations treat human beings like that? Let the Nazis continuously torturing till your memory is gone. Can you imagine that? So why you support computer Nazis of the NATO, where the NATO countries are working together, and also American soldiers can land the brain cell and we have a question, do that. Yes, what a shame. Yeah? Yes, it is a shame. Mr. Guterres.